And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what you get in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left, and then tabs for the various territories. Point and click anywhere on these maps and it'll pull up a very specific forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. And the biggest weather news today down across the lower 48 happens to be an outbreak of severe weather, including very damaging tornadoes. In fact, the small town of Greenfield, Iowa, southwest of Des Moines, was devastated today by a very violent tornado, at least an EF4, maybe even an EF5 storm. And again, more information still coming out of that area of the Midwest. Storms will advance east and gradually weaken here overnight as the instability begins to wane in some of the dynamics feeding those severe storms. Back here through the Yellowstone region, still some winter weather to report there, but we're starting to take a look at things here for Alaska. Some areas have seen some warmer temperatures. We have red flag warnings that'll continue through this mid-evening Tuesday for the Fairbanks area on up through Delta Junction up there through the Tanana Flats. We have warm temperatures, 60s to low 70s with breezy conditions and low humidities, making for easy fire starts. Dangerous conditions there as far as wildfires potentially getting underway. And then areas that are still a flood concern have to do with the upper Yukon area, Porcupine River, especially around and above Fort Yukon. There's a flood watch there through the middle of next week because we have a slowly released snowmelt situation that could really push water levels upward here along the Porcupine River and cause some flooding later this week and over Memorial Day weekend. Further downstream, way downstream, we still have ice in place along the lower Yukon River from around, say, Mountain Village down through Imanik. And that area still is under the gun for potentially some ice jams to form. Otherwise, looking ahead here through Memorial Day weekend into Memorial Day, generally cooler than normal temperatures will prevail, especially across southern Alaska, all the way from the Yukon Delta through the Alaska Peninsula along the Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, and areas will occasionally see some wet weather as we go through this week into the upcoming longer holiday weekend. But as of this afternoon, sunshine, quite warm. Temperatures in the Yukon Flats have been well into the 60s to near 70 degrees. You can even see a worker here on what is probably some sort of cell tower, communications tower there in the Yukon Flats. Mountain Village, overcast, a few sprinkles, 39 degrees. This area downstream of Mountain Village and all the way to the Yukon coastline. There's still the potential for some ice jams to form. That flood watch continues at least into midday Friday. Now, Delta Junction area, if you look at this kind of haze there, it's been quite windy. We have wind advisories in effect for the Alaska Range in that area. So we have some blowing dust, pollen, and maybe even a little smoke from a few of the smaller fires that have occurred in that area. Temperature at 63, and we have through at least 10 p.m. for Delta Junction a red flag warning. And then Seward, seeing some light rain and fog today, 43 degrees, and Seward's going to be in that spot where occasionally you're going to be wet here between this midweek and over the course of the Memorial Day weekend. Won't rain all the time, but we have another round of rain moving in there for tonight and into the day tomorrow. And looking at the current advisories, watches, warnings, we have the flood watches for the upper Yukon, for Fort Yukon along the Porcupine River, and then downstream the area from Mountain Village to Imanik and along the lower Yukon Delta coast. Wind advisories in effect into at least early tomorrow morning along the central eastern Alaska Range for gusty winds, upwards of 50, 60 miles an hour out of the south. That's what's fueling those red flag warnings from around Fairbanks all the way up the Tanana Valley to Delta Junction through 9 and 10 o'clock this Tuesday evening. Looking at the river breakup map, again, this area here highlights where the flood watch is. The biggest concern is all the snowmelt that's occurred up here around Old Crow, and that's coming down the Porcupine River, which will likely result in notable river level rises as it cuts down through the Yukon Flats. So there's the potential for flooding areas around Fort Yukon and the communities just above there along the Porcupine River as we go through the end of this weekend during the upcoming holiday weekend. Further south, still, it's been a cold spring. Ice hangs on to areas here in the lower Yukon Delta, so as a result, still could be some ice jams that form and cause some flooding, though we haven't had much in the way of reports because this area has been hard to survey with aircraft because of the inclement weather that has prevented that from being done. But looking at the fire danger, the greatest fire danger quite high here along areas north of the Alaska Range up through the Yukon Flats, Tanana Flats. This area is where we expect a continuation of either high or very high fire danger, so don't be surprised if any of those red flag warnings could be extended. And if you are planning to do any recreating outdoors this Memorial Day weekend, this would be the area to be especially careful if dealing with campfires and things like that, because generally drier conditions will prevail up in that area of the state. Now, looking at the satellite imagery, we have another low pressure sitting out here. It's working its way northeastward. Put the map in motion. You can see the initial front. And as that front works its way through the western Gulf, we're going to see a weak secondary low form in this region tonight and into Wednesday. And this is just going to push another band of rain and rain showers along the Gulf Coast into the Panhandle as we go through Wednesday afternoon and lingering into Thursday here over the southeast part of the state. But notice by that satellite image I showed you earlier, Yukon Flats enjoying a lot of sunshine as it is up here in areas of the Yukon, Dawson City on up toward Old Crow. They're seeing a lot of sunshine and warmer temperatures, which is allowing for that snowmelt runoff to come down the Porcupine River. But here we have colder temperatures aloft and around this area of low pressure. That low will work its way northeastward and inland, and if that's not enough, there's another low out here just southwest of the Aleutians, and it's going to take a very similar track here for the latter part of this week. So looking at the weather map on this Tuesday afternoon, we have some departing weather here, leaving for some partly cloudy skies in the Panhandle, eastern Gulf, but already here comes that next front with a secondary wave of low pressure that'll be forming here in the western Gulf later tonight, and by the time we get into Wednesday, this system will shift further east. Couple of low centers. The main low is southwest of Nunavik Island, just east-northeast of St. Paul. That feature is just going to work northeastward into the southwest interior, and then there's the hints of the next low coming in to the western Aleutians from the North Pacific. Again, by late tonight, early on Wednesday morning, we have a low pressure there around Nunavik Island, Etolan Strait, pushing inland into the lower Yukon and Kuskokwim basins. And then here comes that front as that works its way east. Just a weak secondary low develops right along the north central Gulf Coast, kind of in that area between Kayak Island and Hinchinbrook Entrance. And that's going to spread more areas of rain and showers and breezy conditions up into the Panhandle Wednesday afternoon, especially Wednesday night into Thursday. And then on Thursday afternoon, this trough is what's left of that system with some showery weather along it. But here comes the next low, already pushing up through the lower half of the Bering Sea with another front arcing ahead of it. And this front will take, or this low will take a track similar to the one I just showed you. And this front then will spin up another low, and that could have impacts here early in the Memorial Day weekend. Could be rather wet here, areas of the southwest for Friday into the northern Alaska Peninsula, nudging on up into areas of Cook Inlet. So again, stay tuned to later forecasts, but we're not going to see super sunny, warm, dry conditions across the southern half of the state here as we go into the holiday weekend. There will be some intervals of precipitation, especially rain, and cooler temperatures. So temperatures overnight lows in the 40s here in the Panhandle and generally in above 40 here across south central. Daytime highs with an increase in cloud cover will be hard to reach to hit 50 in Anchorage, maybe squeaking out 50 Talkeetna, 56 there in the Copper River Basin around Gulkana, Glen Allen. Could reach lower 60s parts of the Panhandle, Klawak, Craig, and Ketchikan, also up towards Skagway. And then Thursday morning lows, again, all areas will stay above freezing. And then night or daytime highs on Thursday afternoon, generally in the 50s because of the cloud cover and scattered showers lingering in this region. Again, cooler here too across south central, generally in the 50s for highs. As we look toward the central and northern portions of the mainland and way out toward the west, above freezing along the Yukon River on up and through the Tanana Valley. Temperatures a bit below freezing, upper 20s here along the Arctic coast north slope, near 30. Shishmaref down through Wales. Temperatures Wednesday afternoon will be warmest Yukon Flats. This is the area that most likely have the best chance of a fair amount of sunshine through the day, so it could be nearing 70 degrees at Fort Yukon, 67 there at Eagle, but temperatures should get back up around freezing along the Arctic coast as well as here at the Bering Strait. And then daytime or nighttime lows get back down a bit below freezing. North slope, Arctic coast along areas of the west coast along the Chukchi Sea coastline. And then temperatures generally at 40 or a bit better through the middle upper Tanana and middle upper Yukon valleys, though. With some cloud cover and some scattered showers, I think temperatures will not be quite as warm Thursday afternoon here in the central and east central interior. Certainly not like today when Fairbanks had high temperatures in the lower 70s. Southwest interior, still cool, down near freezing. We're just above that here. Nunavik Island, Makoriak on toward Imanik, and then generally above freezing, upper 30s to near 40, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and maybe 50-ish as we get up the Yukon River or over toward McGrath, but that's going to be, you got to get further up the Yukon River there to get into temperatures above 50. And temperatures Thursday morning, again, back down near freezing here along the Yukon coastline, and temperatures generally upper 30s to near 40 along the Alaska Peninsula in through the eastern Aleutians. And Thursday afternoon highs, again, coolest right here along that area of the outer Yukon coast through Etolan Strait, maybe mid-upper 30s for highs. Again, you have to get back upward along the middle Yukon Valley to get temperatures above 50, 56 perhaps there, upper portion of the Kuskokwim around McGrath, and maybe 50-ish as you get on over toward Homer or, say, Kodiak City. Looking at the temperature outlook, this is going to take us through the end of May, May 27th through the 31st, after we get past Memorial Day weekend into next weekend again. Just to continue it, this is the trend. Below normal temperatures, southern portions of the state from southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, south central into areas of all the panhandle, just below normal temperatures due to cloud cover. Just the progression of the weather systems coming pretty much, they move from the west-southwest to the east-northeast, so that's going to keep the precipitation going. Maybe temperatures a little above normal here in the northwestern portion of the mainland, including Utqiagvik and Kotzebue. And then precipitation-wise there to close out the month of May, we expect areas of the Panhandle to average a bit above normal. Same thing around near Cook Inlet and up along this arm of the Alaska Range, the western arm. And so again, normally this is the driest time of year, but we are going to see some periods of wetness, especially across southern parts of the state as we close out the month of May. And also still could be some scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, central, eastern, interior at times.